Welcome back to Wisdom Unveiled, where we take these deep dives,
Yeah.
into all these fascinating sources of wisdom. We're on episode 13
Wow.
of our 50-episode journey. And today we're going to be focusing on the insights of Saadi of Shiraz.
Okay.
Just a quick note before we begin.
Yeah.
Our source material for this deep dive is a translation
Right.
of conversations between two Iranian philosophers,
Yeah.
Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani.
I see.
So, just keep in mind
Okay.
that there might be some nuances lost in translation.
Yeah,
But even with that in mind, the core ideas are just remarkable.
for sure.
Today, we're going to explore how Saadi connected nature, language, and spirituality. You ready?
Absolutely. Saadi's insights are always thought-provoking.
I know.
Yeah.
So to start, Saadi had this fascinating idea
Okay.
that nature possesses a kind of intelligence.
Right.
He said, the wind, the cloud, the earth, all obey his command. Would it be fair for you not to obey? What do you make of that?
Well, what's fascinating is how Saadi uses this idea of obedience, not as blind following, but as aligning ourselves with a greater force or divine order. It's like how we now recognize the intricate workings of ecosystems. Everything is interconnected and plays a role.
Yeah, it's not just about following rules,
Right.
but understanding the why behind the natural world's workings. If we can understand the deeper purpose, it's easier to find our place within it.
Exactly. Dr. Dinani shared this great anecdote about a Sufi master. Those are spiritual guides within the Islamic tradition. This master faced a series of misfortunes, losing his home, possessions, and even his family. Each time, his response was simply, "Thank God."
Thank God. That's an unexpected reaction to such hardship.
Right. But for this Sufi master, it wasn't about being stoic. He genuinely believed that these hardships were opportunities for spiritual growth sent by a higher power. He saw a purpose, a divine hand, even in suffering.
So instead of despair, he chose to focus on gratitude.
Precisely. And this leads us to one of Saadi's key principles, gratitude. He viewed it not just as an emotion, but as an intellectual act, a deliberate choice to focus on the good we have.
So it's not just about feeling thankful,
Right.
but about actively recognizing the good, even when things are tough. That must take a lot of conscious effort.
It does, but Saadi brilliantly connects this to something we do every day, breathing. He described each inhale as taking in the good, air, nourishment, life itself, and each exhale as releasing negativity, whatever no longer serves us.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
It makes even the simple act of breathing a spiritual practice.
exactly. It highlights how Saadi found profound meaning in the most ordinary aspects of life. And it reminds us that wisdom doesn't always come from grand pronouncements. It can be found in the rhythm of our own breath. So much of Saadi's work seems to be about finding that deeper meaning in everyday life.
It really is.
Yeah.
And speaking of finding deeper meaning, let's move on to another fascinating thread in Saadi's work, language. Dr. Dinani suggests that language is much more than just communication. It's a reflection of our inner world, maybe even divinely inspired.
Yes, it's like our words are a window into our soul.
Right.
What we choose to say, how we say it, all of that reveals who we are on a deeper level.
But words can also be used to cause harm, right? Remember that story he told about the king whose careless speech led to chaos and suffering?
Absolutely. Dr. Dinani highlighted the immense power of words. They can build or destroy, create harmony, or incite violence. His advice: speak from the heart, choose words that are sincere and truthful, and even in disagreement, truly listen to what others are saying.
So it's about being mindful of our words, understanding that they have an impact that goes beyond just conveying information. Kind of like aligning our words with our actions, right?
Yes, and Dr. Larijani added another layer to this idea of language by introducing the concept of silence as a language of the heart.
Silence. How can that be a language?
Think about it, sometimes words just get in the way. Silence can be about intuition, about empathy, about an unspoken understanding that goes deeper than words. He even referenced Shams Tabrizi, a Sufi mystic who rarely spoke, believing that unspoken words held more power.
So sometimes the most profound communication happens in those quiet spaces, in that shared stillness where we can connect on a deeper level.
Exactly. That's the beauty of silence. It allows us to tap into a different kind of understanding, a language of the heart.
It's really amazing how Saadi connected these seemingly disparate threads,
Yeah,
nature, language, and spirituality, into this tapestry of wisdom.
it is. And speaking of connections, let's move on to Saadi's view of Prophet Muhammad, a figure who held a special significance for him. He used this intriguing phrase, tamed a man, which actually means the culmination of time.
Wait, does that mean like the literal end of history?
Not quite. It refers to the pinnacle of human potential, the highest point in humanity's spiritual evolution. It's like saying humanity reached its full potential in Prophet Muhammad.
So in Saadi's eyes, Prophet Muhammad represents the best of what humanity can be.
Exactly. To understand this better, we need to look at Saadi's view of history as cyclical.
Okay.
He believed it began and ends with humans, and Prophet Muhammad represents the completion of this specific cycle.
That makes sense. But time doesn't just stop there, right?
Right, the cycle completes, but time keeps moving forward. Saadi even used a beautiful Arabic verse to praise Prophet Muhammad. He reached the highest point by his perfection. The darkness was dispelled in two places by the beauty of your reason.
Darkness dispelled by reason. That's such a powerful image. What kind of darkness is he talking about?
It's a metaphor. The two places refer to the darkness of ignorance, the lack of knowledge, and the darkness of inner turmoil, our internal struggles.
So Prophet Muhammad represents bringing light to both our minds and our hearts.
Precisely. He embodies both intellectual and spiritual enlightenment. And Saadi emphasized his generosity, kindness, and guidance, presenting him as a model for what it means to be truly human.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So we've explored nature's intelligence, the power of language, and now the culmination of human potential in Prophet Muhammad. It's remarkable how Saadi connected all these different threads.
It really is, and the connections don't stop there. Saadi believed that understanding Prophet Muhammad's teachings would lead to a deeper appreciation and respect for nature.
So true spirituality isn't just about personal piety,
Right.
but about how we treat the world around us.
Exactly. He saw the interconnectedness of everything. Our spirituality, our language, our actions, and how we treat nature. It's like that saying, you can tell a lot about a person by how they treat those who can do nothing for them.
But in this case, it's about how we treat nature, even though it can't speak for itself.
You got it. If we truly grasped the wisdom of Prophet Muhammad, Saadi believed we'd treat nature with the same care as another human being because we're all part of the same creation.
That's a really powerful thought. It almost reframes environmentalism. It's not just about saving the planet, but recognizing nature's inherent value and intelligence.
Exactly. Saadi believed that how we treat nature reflects our spiritual understanding. Greed, exploitation, disregard those show a lack of inner harmony. Respect, gratitude, responsibility, those demonstrate a deeper connection to something greater than ourselves. It's like our treatment of nature is a mirror to our souls.
Wow, that's a lot to take in.
I know, but that's the beauty of Saadi's work. It's full of these thought-provoking connections that encourage us to look at the world in new ways.
It really is inspiring.
It's fascinating how Saadi connects this idea of respecting nature to his discussion of Prophet Muhammad. He seems to suggest that a deep understanding of the Prophet's teachings naturally leads to a sense of responsibility toward the natural world.
That's a really interesting connection. So it's not just about personal piety or rituals, but how our beliefs translate into actions, especially towards something as essential as nature.
Exactly. Saadi emphasized Prophet Muhammad's generosity, kindness, and guidance, portraying him as a model for ethical behavior. And it's this ethical framework that extends to our relationship with the environment.
I see what you mean. It's like we often compartmentalize our lives.
Yeah.
Spirituality over here, environmentalism over there. But Saadi is saying they're inseparable.
He was a master at weaving together seemingly disparate threads into a cohesive whole. And Dr. Dinani pointed out how beautifully this is reflected in Saadi's use of language. He rarely just describes things, he tells stories, using narratives to bring abstract concepts to life.
So instead of just saying be kind, he'd share a parable that illustrates the power of kindness in a way that really sticks with you.
Precisely. He doesn't just tell you what to think. He invites you to experience the wisdom through stories, through characters grappling with moral dilemmas, through vivid imagery that sparks your imagination.
So he's creating a world where these interconnected ideas, nature, language, spirituality, all come together to paint a picture of what it means to live a truly meaningful life.
And within that world, Prophet Muhammad represents the culmination of human potential, the embodiment of those values. He's not just a religious figure, he's a role model for ethical conduct, kindness, and understanding. And that extends to how we treat the natural world.
So it's like Saadi is saying that if we strive to embody those qualities, those prophetic qualities, we can't help but treat nature with respect and care. It becomes an extension of our own spiritual growth.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it reminds me of how Dr. Larijani brought in the idea of silence as a language of the heart. He argued that to truly understand nature, we need to go beyond just observing it with our senses. We need to listen with our hearts, to tap into that intuitive understanding that transcends words.
It was about quieting the mind, stilling the constant chatter, and allowing ourselves to connect with nature on a deeper, more intuitive level. It does make you wonder what we might be missing when we're constantly bombarded with noise and distractions.
Absolutely. And maybe that's the key to unlocking Saadi's concept of nature's intelligence. It's not about assigning human-like thoughts to trees or animals, but about recognizing the inherent wisdom and interconnectedness within the natural world. We just have to learn how to listen.
That makes sense. It's like when you stand in a forest and feel that sense of awe, that sense of being a part of something much bigger than yourself. You can't explain it logically. It's an intuitive understanding, a feeling of connection that goes beyond words.
Exactly. And maybe that's the key to really absorbing Saadi's wisdom. It's not just about reading his words, but embodying them, allowing them to guide our actions and shape our relationship with the world around us.
That's a powerful challenge, and one that feels especially relevant today as we face so many environmental crises. It's like Saadi is reminding us that our actions have consequences, not just for ourselves, but for the entire web of life. I mean, we can see the impact all around us.
You're right. And Dr. Dinani highlighted how Saadi used his mastery of language to drive this point home. He doesn't preach. He tells stories that resonate on an emotional level, stories that make you feel the interconnectedness of all things.
He makes you think, he makes you feel, and he makes you want to act. That's the mark of a true master storyteller. He doesn't just lecture you, he draws you into his world.
And that's why his works continue to resonate centuries later. He's not just offering abstract philosophical concepts, he's giving us practical wisdom that we can apply to our lives today.
So we're talking about practical steps. What would be one thing we could do to embody Saadi's message in our daily lives? I mean, where do we even begin?
Dr. Larijani suggested starting with gratitude. Take a moment each day to appreciate the simple gifts of nature. The air we breathe, the water we drink, the beauty that surrounds us. Cultivating this sense of gratitude can help us shift our perspective to see the interconnectedness of all things. Such a simple practice, but I think it can be incredibly powerful.
I agree. And it's something we can all do, regardless of our background or beliefs. It's a beautiful way to honor Saadi's legacy.
And maybe in that gratitude, we can begin to tap into a deeper understanding of the world, the kind of understanding that Saadi so eloquently expresses through his stories and his poetry. It's about opening ourselves up to that possibility.
That's a beautiful thought. It's like he's inviting us to rediscover the world through a lens of wonder, appreciation, and interconnectedness. Not a bad way to live right.
Not at all. It's a perspective that can bring so much richness and meaning to our lives.
I think that's a perfect place to pause for now.
Yeah.
There's so much to unpack in Saadi's work. It's hard to know where to stop.
Indeed, there's much more to explore in Saadi's wisdom.
It's amazing how Saadi manages to bring these profound ideas like down to earth.
Right.
You know, makes them relevant to like everyday life.
Yeah.
He doesn't just talk about nature in the abstract. He shows us how to appreciate its beauty in like the simplest things.
Right.
Like that idea of breathing as a spiritual practice.
Mm-hmm.
Inhaling the good, exhaling the negative. It's such a simple act, but so profound when you think about it in that context.
It really is. And Dr. Dinani pointed out that Saadi uses this technique throughout his work.
Yeah.
He'll take a grand concept like divine order or the culmination of time and ground it in everyday experiences, making it relatable and accessible to everyone, you know? He meets people where they are, which is probably why his work has resonated with so many for so long.
It's true. It's not about becoming like a scholar or a mystic to understand Saadi's wisdom.
Right.
It's about paying attention to the world around us, the rhythms of nature, the power of our own words and actions.
Yeah.
It feels very grounded and practical, even when he's discussing these like big philosophical concepts.
Exactly. And within those everyday experiences, Saadi encourages us to look for those moments of connection, those glimpses of the divine that spark our sense of wonder and gratitude.
Yeah.
It's about finding the extraordinary in the ordinary.
I love that.
Yeah.
It makes me think about how often we just like rush through life, taking things for granted. Saadi seems to be urging us to slow down, savor the moment, appreciate the beauty that's all around us. I know I'm definitely guilty of that.
I think we all are to some extent, but the beauty is that it's never too late to shift our perspective.
Right.
And that's what Saadi is inviting us to do. to open our eyes to the beauty that's already there waiting to be noticed. And that beauty isn't just in the grand landscapes or spectacular events. It's in the delicate petals of a flower, the intricate patterns of a spider's web, the sound of birdsong in the morning.
It's a beautiful thought, opening our hearts to see the extraordinary in the ordinary.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if maybe that's part of what it means to be truly human, as Saadi saw it.
That's a great point. And in doing so, we start to see the interconnectedness of all things, the way everything is woven together in this intricate tapestry of life.
It becomes less about appreciating nature for its aesthetic value and more about recognizing that we're a part of it, that our actions have an impact on the whole. It's a humbling thought, but also empowering in a way, would you say?
Absolutely. Dr. Larijani made an interesting point about this. He said that Saadi's view of nature wasn't just about conservation or preservation.
Right.
It was about recognizing the inherent intelligence and spiritual significance within the natural world. It's not just about saving the planet for future generations. It's about honoring the sacredness of life in all its forms.
That's really powerful. And it makes Saadi's message feel even more urgent today as we face so many environmental challenges.
It does. Saadi seems to be saying that the solutions to these challenges won't come solely from technology or policy changes. They'll come from a shift in consciousness, a recognition of our interconnectedness with nature. It has to start from within.
It's about moving beyond a mindset of domination and control
Right.
to one of respect, harmony, and gratitude. And this is where Saadi's emphasis on language comes in, right? Dr. Dinani suggested that the way we talk about nature shapes our relationship with it.
Yeah.
If we see it as something separate from ourselves, something to be exploited or controlled, then our actions will reflect that.
Exactly. But if we start to use language that reflects our interconnectedness, that acknowledges the intelligence and beauty of the natural world, then our actions will start to shift as well. It's about cultivating a language of respect, wonder, and gratitude. It's like we need to rediscover a language that honors the sacredness of life in all its forms.
So it's not enough to just talk about environmentalism or spirituality.
Yeah.
We need to embody those values in our everyday choices,
Right.
in the way we consume, in the way we treat each other, in the way we connect with the natural world.
You got it. It's about aligning our actions with our words, creating a life that reflects the interconnectedness and harmony that Saadi so beautifully portrays in his work.
It's a challenge, for sure, but also incredibly inspiring. And perhaps in that alignment, we can begin to heal the divisions within ourselves, within our communities, and within our relationship with the planet. It's a beautiful vision.
It is. Saadi's wisdom truly transcends time and cultures, offering us a path towards a more meaningful and fulfilling existence.
And as we wrap up this deep dive into his profound insights,
Yeah.
I think it's fitting to leave our listeners with a question.
Okay.
How can you embody Saadi's wisdom in your own life? How can you cultivate a deeper sense of gratitude, respect, and interconnectedness? We encourage you to reflect on these questions and find ways to bring Saadi's timeless message into your everyday experiences. We've only just scratched the surface here, but hopefully this deep dive has given you a starting point on your own journey with Saadi's work.
That's a great way to put it. There's so much more to discover in his writing. And thank you for joining us today as we explored these fascinating ideas.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to dive into these conversations with you. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration and discovery. May Saadi's wisdom continue to inspire us all to live more meaningful, connected, and compassionate lives.